this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
You see it instantly. It's Coldwater Creek, the mark of exceptional workmanship and signature touches inspired by a Mountain West heritage. Distinctive styles created from quality fabrics, silhouettes perfected with just the right drape, feel-good fits offering ease of movement, and thoughtful details to elevate your look. For a wardrobe you can count on season after season, visit coldwatercreek.com. Shop the new spring collection at 20% off $75 or more with code IHEART20.
At Lowe's, get up to 35% off select major appliances. Plus, members get free delivery, install, and more when you spend $2,500 on select major appliances. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 2/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Excludes Massachusetts, Maryland, Wisconsin, New Jersey, Florida. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Visit Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change.
Visit your nearby Lowe's on East 17th Avenue in Hutchinson.
When you stay in your home, what you love gets to stay too. From the gardens that grow wild to the grandkids that run wilder. From the Friday night baseball games to the Sunday morning brunches. Even the daily crosswords and weekly book clubs. There's room for it all with help from Home Instead, the largest in-home senior care network with over 30 years of trusted experience delivering the peace of mind you deserve. Visit Home Instead online for a better what's next.
Body Bags with Joseph Scott Moore. Other than forensic pathologists, the very first people that I came in contact with and got to know really well in the world of forensic scientists were actually forensic odontologists. I actually met forensic odontologists before I ever met my first forensic anthropologist. And I've always viewed myself as one of these people that is a frustrated forensic anthropologist because it's something I would have loved to have done, but never had the time, to go down that career path. I just like digging in the dirt and those sorts of things. And working puzzles from that perspective. But forensic odontologists were interesting people. And I had a couple of them that were a big influence in my career because it gave me a perspective on forensic science in general and specifically death investigation from a different side of the house. You always hear it from the physician side in death investigation, but forensic odontologists have a different view. And today on Body Bags, I was really hoping that we could explore this world and talk a little bit about form, function, and maybe some famous and also infamous forensic odontologists that are out there. It's going to be a good conversation. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags. Have you ever heard a more odd word than odontology, Dave? I mean, when you first hear that, you think, first off, what is it? And, where does it come from? Where does it originate? Because some people out there will use interchangeably, they will say forensic odontology and forensic dentistry.
Right.
And I think dentistry actually predates the word odontology. Odontology is an English word that first popped up in like the early 1800s. Do you know what the big difference is?
No idea.
Dentistry is kind of the treatment of teeth, examination, measuring health and doing extractions and fillings and all of the stuff that dental folks do. Odontology, interestingly enough, deals more toward the function of the teeth, how they work, how they work. And most people don't think about, most people don't even think about chewing, because it's one of these things that you've done it your entire life. Mm-hmm. You don't think about what's involved in it. As a matter of fact, let me try an experiment real quick. Everybody that's listening to me, you including Dave, I want you to take the tip of your tongue and run it across the surface of your teeth, both upper and lower. And just by using the tip of your tongue, can you tell me what is your dependent side of your mouth that you chew on?
Yeah. Can you?
Uh-huh. Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't it be a freak show? But yeah. I mean, I paid a lot of money for these teeth. Yeah, I know exactly where I chew.
Where do you chew? What
my
side?
Right side. My upper
right
right.
Side.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And so, and if you notice teeth, when you look at them, I mean, probably most famously, people, when they see teeth and they think things like bite marks.
Right.
We think about our canines. My kids used to call them their vampire teeth.
Right.
Those two pointy, they have a single cusp that kind of sticks down. Well, for humans with these teeth, they do serve each tooth grouping serves a specific form and function. So you're learning, like, if you can tell what side of your wear pattern is, that's going to be specific to maybe a life lived. There's evidence if you eat unrefined grains, your teeth will be worn down in a particular manner. There's a manifestation that comes about in Native Americans and Asian populations. It's called dental shoveling, which the backside of the teeth literally kind of shovel out because they're eating things like unrefined rice, corn, those sorts of things. And so it grinds the teeth down over a period of time. You can also get you can look at teeth and tell, see people that maybe have not had fluorinated water. Right. All these things that are out there that so much you can learn about the teeth. You can check trauma with teeth. How many teeth have you had chipped over the course of your life and have not been repaired? How many teeth? And my wife hates me. Well, she doesn't hate me. She cannot stand the fact that first off, my teeth are very crooked. People always say, why don't you smile in your photographs? Well, my left upper lateral incisor is recessed back in my mouth, and it actually looks like I got a hole in my teeth, and I don't. I never got braces. And so my wife, however, is always tending to her teeth, and she's got very soft teeth, and that's unique to her, and they wear that sort of thing. Dave, I literally, and people hate me for this, I've literally never had a cavity in my life.
Wow, good for you.
Never. And I don't know what that's like. I've had tooth pain. However, Kim, my wife, she's had crowns, she's had fillings, and she flosses religiously, brushes several times. And she'll look at me and say, so what did the dentist say? I don't have any cavities.
He told me to chew more ice.
Chew more. Yeah. But a lot of stuff can be extrapolated from that, by the way, but we're not going to go down that road. Yeah.
As soon as I saw forensic odontology that's what we're going to talk about, I thought Ted Bundy and the Chi Omega attack, where they used the impression of his bite mark at trial. Yeah. And I wondered out loud, how exacting is that science? Because I've heard two things. I've heard, everybody has a unique bite. Actually, that's not true, right?
No, it's not. And well, let me tell you why it is kind of unique.
Okay.
First off, the Bundy trial is probably the most famous out of all of bite mark cases. There's that image that's out there of this poor young woman that was bitten on her buttock. And you can see that. And I think that was put forward in that trial specifically. And they did a good job of explaining it And remember, they had to force him to give a dental impression.
Right.
Where
and
he had to do the bite.
He did something to try to mess with his teeth, too. I'm trying to remember what it was.
I don't remember what it was, because he's one of those people that people talk about so much that I'm bad in my life to do the opposite. I go the opposite of the crowd most of the time.
Yeah.
And so I've not studied Bundy as much as a lot of people, or should I say, I know people that all they want to talk about is Bundy.
Oh, yeah.
And, there's been so many cases since him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's kind of a touchstone for a lot of reasons in forensics, but bite mark in particular. And here's,
what's really odd though, Joe?
What's that?
With Bundy, you had so many, the Chi Omega, where we had the bite mark thing. But in his other killings, whether it was in Utah or Washington, Oregon, there were different things at each one of he did different things along the way to people. I mean, he did different killings, and it's like that to me. I don't want to say it's fascinating, because the guy is the most evil person I think that ever walked the face of the earth, or at least up in the top 5. But it's like each one of his different groupings of cases brings about a whole new set or a different set of ideas to talk about of a killer. But like you're talking about, you don't follow along with that. The one thing that you and I both have done so much on Kohberger. I was kind of hit with Kohberger and Bundy, the late night, early morning attack in a house in a confined area where there are living, people that actually saw, and so those comparisons. And I wondered, based on Kohberger's background, did he study this? Did he study forensic odontology?
I can't say what he studied. Lord only knows.
We know he studied you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Don't bring that up again, please. I swear. I got to tell you, the further down the road that we go with this thing, looking at him, I'm more inclined to Danny Rolling. The Gainesville Ripper, because, and I think a lot of that had to do with the K-bar knife and how it was utilized, and that it was a college campus, and it was off-campus housing, and it's just that you didn't have a one-night event where you had people clustering. You had multiple people, Danny Rolling, in various spots, and I had kind of a weird kind of involvement with Rolling, in one sense that he's from Louisiana. We had a series of serial killings that were going on in South Louisiana, and I was on a task force, and he had, if I remember correctly, he had perpetrated something up in North Louisiana. It seems like it was Shreveport. I can't remember. And the task force was asked to look at when the Ripper thing happened in Gainesville back then, we were asked, are there any of these cases that you're currently working that kind of pair up with what happened in Gainesville? Because I think Gainesville was 89, if I'm not mistaken. And we couldn't find, just the fact that, well, let's face it, he used a knife to dismember at least one person that I remember off the top of my head. We didn't have that in that series. But now with Bundy, he was a straight up sadist, and he actually had what's called a sexual paraphilia, which is a dexalexia. I think let me check the pronunciation again. I think that's.
And while you do that, I want to share one thing. For those who are listening, and you mentioned Danny Rolling and the Gainesville Ripper. I encourage you, friends, if you've been following Kohberger, go look into Danny Rolling. That's where the K-bar knife came into play, and a few other things that are very reminiscent of the two cases. Plus, we found out recently in the last week that Kohberger actually had downloaded a PDF about Danny Rolling to his phone.
And there are similarities, I think, between, and everybody will say, well, Bundy was really smart. Danny Rolling was no idiot. I mean, I guess it all depends on how you define idiot, but he had there was a certain template with him, and I'm still not convinced that Danny Rolling hadn't been at what he was doing for longer.
Oh, wow.
Some people think, but
seems odd, Joe, that we have a killer that all of a sudden strikes.
Yeah.
And does such horror.
And that's a similarity that's more similar to Rolling than Bundy.
Right.
Bundy, when he showed up at FSU in Tallahassee with the Kyo House, he was at the end at that point.
Oh, yeah.
He was on the run.
Yeah, he was escaped from jail for a trial.
Yeah, exactly. Rolling, it would seem just like Kohberger burst on the scene in a dramatic way, which is, quite fascinating to consider. I've thought about several people along the way, and I'm really chasing rabbits here, but I've considered everybody, including Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber. And a lot of that is based on those images that he took of himself with the hoodie, because he looked, except for the sunglasses, he actually looked like that composite. And of course, Ted Kaczynski was brilliant, PhD in mathematics, and this guy seemed to be brilliant,
right?
And also have a PhD. So
wow.
I don't know. But when it comes down to biting people like Bundy did, there is it's actually a sadistic practice, a sexual paraphilia that's associated with this type of behavior. That's actually called adexalegnia, and I know they've got a name for everything.
We hit the bottom.
I know. There's no basement in the house of depravity.
Where's the shovel?
So in this practice, and it's very, as you can imagine, it's very intimate. Now, there are some people that are, and good luck with all that. There are a lot of people that are into biting one another. Okay. Like kind of teasing, that sort of thing. We're not going to go down that road right now. This is not that kind of show, but there is a group of these people that are sadists that actually bite, and I mean bite hard, because they are directly involved in inflicting pain on another individual, torturous pain. If anybody's ever been bitten by like a dog, and you can imagine that dog not letting go of you, and I'm sure that many of you that are hearing this right now have been attacked, at least in a limited sense, by a dog. There's nothing quite as painful, particularly if you can't get a dog off of you. Well, imagine a human doing this, and he's got you pinned down. He's twice your size, and he's biting down on you. Well, it's through this that we see kind of the early genesis of forensic odontology in the practice. And I think the reason it got so much, it was so validated back during its day, is it exploded with Ted Bundy, because it was this new fascinating thing that they had. And it's like, guys, we caught him, that kind of thing, we've got him, and they tied it back through the teeth, and now it's quite interesting. Now, bite marks not recognized in the vast majority of courts anymore. It's kind of been invalidated. It's not me using the term. Actually, Obama's best practices in forensic science study, I think that was back from 12, actually referred to it as a pseudoscience. And which is, and listen, some of the people that I've come in contact with that are forensic odontologists, I hold in very high esteem. Ronnie Carr, in particular, is a guy that took me under his wing when I was a young investigator, actually allowed me to come to the dental school and audit a dental class that he was teaching as an elective in forensic odontology. But odontology is just not about bite marks. The other utility that they have, and probably that's more practical, are doing postmortem dental examinations, which are fascinating in and of themselves, because as we know, skin can be damaged, it can be burned, it can rot, it can fade away, bones can be snapped in half and hauled away. But teeth, we've still got teeth that were found in the heads of mummies 3,000 years ago. They last a long, long time.
So, do you want to start shopping for your next car but don't know where to begin? Start at CarMax, where you can shop your way from start to finish. Whether you're shopping for something practical, adventurous, or luxurious, CarMax puts you in the driver's seat. And if you want to shop cars that fit your budget, CarMax has your back all the way. Simply grab your phone and get pre-qualified from your couch, the dog park, or even on a coffee break. It's quick, easy, and has zero impact on your credit score. Want to explore your options? CarMax has plenty of options. In fact, with over 45,000 cars to choose from, CarMax has rides for almost every budget, including more than 25,000 cars priced under $25,000. From browsing online to checking out cars on the lot, you can shop your way at CarMax. Want to get started on the search for your next car? Start at CarMax.com for details and get pre-qualified today. Want to drive? CarMax.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Meaningful Beauty, the famed skincare brand created by iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's her secret to absolutely gorgeous skin. Meaningful Beauty makes powerful and effective skincare simple, and it's loved by millions of women. It's formulated for all ages and all skin tones and types, and it's designed to work as a complete skincare system, leaving your skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. I recommend starting with Cindy's full regimen, which contains all 5 of her best-selling products, including the amazing youth-activating Melon Serum. This next-generation serum has the power of melon leaf stem cell technology. It's melon leaf stem cells encapsulated for freshness and released onto the skin to support a visible reduction in the appearance of wrinkles. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews, why not give it a try? Subscribe today and you can get the amazing Meaningful Beauty system for just $49.95. That includes our introductory 5-piece system, free gifts, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All of that available at meaningfulbeauty.com.
You see it instantly. It's Coldwater Creek, the mark of exceptional workmanship and signature touches inspired by a Mountain West heritage. Distinctive styles created from quality fabrics, silhouettes perfected with just the right drape, feel-good fits offering ease of movement, and thoughtful details to elevate your look. For a wardrobe you can count on season after season, visit coldwatercreek.com. Shop the new spring collection at 20% off $75 or more with code IHEART20.
Consider your teeth just for a moment. Again, I've already asked you to try to determine what side of your mouth you chew on the most. And everything that happens with your teeth is unique to you. All right, mommy and daddy could have paid for braces, but still those teeth will be unique to you. The fascinating thing about teeth and what makes them have a utility for human identification in particular, not so much bite mark, because we'll get into that in a second, but just the basic utility of teeth as a means to identify people. Think about it like this. Every tooth has at least 5 visible surfaces. Well, partially visible if you think about the top, okay? You think about the outer side that you can see, the inner side that you can see if you look in the mirror, and then you got 2 other sides that are up against adjoining teeth, all right? Not really communicating, but they're sitting there, all right? So all of those planes, for every tooth that you have that has these sides, for every way that it rotates, like it can rotate 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 4 degrees, and dentists are considering this while they're examining your teeth, that makes that individual tooth unique to you. You take that and multiply that by 32 teeth, and that makes you very unique. It still makes you unique if you're missing your wisdom teeth, because that means you're in the population that doesn't have wisdom teeth. So if I'm trying to get a body identified, if you're missing your wisdom teeth and we know that they were probably extracted as opposed to falling out as a result of decomposition, you're into a separate pile. And getting bodies identified, which teeth were the main way that we did that on really complex cases for years and years. Now you have DNA, and teeth still play a part in DNA, but you would do these examinations on teeth and they would always kind of point the way. Of course, you would have to have a suspected list of people that you could get their antemortem dental records and compare to. Let me tell you about a nightmare case that in my old office that occurred in 1982. Anybody feel free to look this up. In Kenner, Louisiana, I think it was in 1982, there was a Pan Am crash. And when the crash took place, the plane took off going with Lake Pontchartrain at the rear of the plane. So you're traveling it's going from north to south. So north-south runway, thing takes off, and Dave, it doesn't get probably any higher than maybe 600-700 feet off the ground, and it nosedives. It nosedives with a full, they were heading to Vegas. Nosedives, it goes across the highway and into a neighborhood and just obliterates the neighborhood. And anybody that was there, it's like at 4:00 in the afternoon. I've got colleagues that showed up, Dave, and they saw things like one of the most shocking things they saw while they were there was actually a woman's torso cut in half and was hanging from a live oak tree by her pantyhose, and the top half of her was completely gone. There was cash laying everywhere, all over the place. And just to show you how scummy some human beings can be, before the police arrived on scene, there were allegedly civilians that had walked in there and they were picking up cash. The reason there was cash is this is before the days of going to a slot machine in Vegas and taking a digital card and sticking it in. You had to show up with cash in hand, baby. Right. And I still remember the sound of the coins falling, when they would fall, somebody hit a jackpot. Wow. So people would literally travel with huge amounts of cash. I'm getting to the point, I'm going to tell you why this is so complex. When they crashed into the ground, you had bodies that were burning, you had homes that were burning, there were people that were just living their life on the ground that had died. There was one child, I remember the old investigators talking about, that was in her sandbox, and the sand, she like incinerated right there. There were plastic toys that had melted and they were like in a multicolored blob. And Dave, part of the sand had turned to glass. That's how hot it got. Now, I can't validate that personally. That's word of mouth. It came to me. And that you can still drive through there even to this day in that part of Kenner, Louisiana, and you can still see where the plane, there's new homes there, but you can see what's newer and what's older. Wow. And it's this horrific event. So back to why it was so difficult, a goodly number of these people that were on the plane, they had a lot of Indian nationals that were from India. And they were trying to get dental records. You realize how hard it is to get dental records from India? Oh. I mean, it's a bloody nightmare. So you have people that are there that have very specific dental presentations, and you don't have anything to compare it to. Now, as solid as the science is with the alignment of teeth and restorations and malocclusions and all these things that dentists talk about, it would have been great, but it's very difficult to get those. And they actually had a number of leftover remains that they never could actually get positively identified. I think there's a level that you and I have never really discussed about identification. It's called presumptive identification. And it's like you have all the information, but you don't have enough to say scientifically that absolutely this is it. It's a presumptive ID, and you go ahead and go with that ID. I've never been a big fan of that, but some of these were presumptive IDs. The forensic odontologist, though, can come into an environment, and they come into all kinds of austere environments. There were a ton of forensic odontologists on the ground at 9/11. They travel all over the world to work plane crashes. And we're not talking about bite marks here, Dave. We're talking about actual dental examinations. I've assisted many of these over the years. And to give you an idea how this works in the morgue, generally the dental identification of an individual is done, or examination rather. Identification comes later, after the examination. It comes after the autopsy. Okay, so you do the autopsy first, and then the forensic odontologist comes in, and what we will do for that odontologist is we literally cut the jaws out of the body. So you go up here to the primary joint with the jaw, like TMJ, you cut through it, you cut out all the soft tissue, and you remove the jaw. Then you have to go into the maxilla, which is the where your upper teeth, your maxillary teeth, are located. And, as you go up from inside of the maxilla, you start to get into sinuses, so you reflect the lips all the way up, do dissection. You take the striker saw, the same one that you open the skull with, and all the way back to the very back tooth, to that area, you're going to cut this kind of arcing linear incision with the striker saw and literally pop the roof of the mouth out with the teeth intact. You say, wow, that's incredibly gruesome, Morgan. Thank you for giving me that image. Well, let me explain to you why we do it that way. If you've ever seen like the best way I can explain it, if you've ever seen like a mechanical engineering drawing where they have like what they call an exploded view of like all the little nuts and bolts and everything that you couldn't see, like if it was all self-contained, like if you're putting together a boiler, it's got all kinds of, internal guts, mechanisms and everything. You can't really see that. You don't understand it. So they do what's called an exploded view. Well, same kind of principle exists with forensic odontology and examination, postmortem examination. If you can take those jaws, the jaw itself, and lay it out on a table and take the maxilla and lay it out so that the teeth are upward, the bases of the teeth are up, or the business surface of the teeth are up, then as they're sitting there, you can go over them. I mean, think about every time you've sat in a dental chair and you got this guy, he's got a light on top of his head. He's got these fine tools that really, really hurt many times. And what's the one directive they're always telling you when you're sitting in a chair? Open wider, open wider, open wider. The hygienist will say that, or the dentist, hey, could you turn your head this way and open a little bit wider? And they're trying to get access. Well, these individuals are deceased. And so you don't have to ask for access. Matter of fact, you're not encumbered by the lack of light. That's one of the tough things about people that practice dentistry is the lack of light that they have to illuminate this very tight space they're having to work in. So we can actually take those jaws and do x-rays. Here's two interesting things that people might not know. I've actually gotten bodies identified through sinus patterns on skulls where we're examining the teeth. We do an x-ray of the face and you can see all of the sinuses, okay? And they kind of even dip down into the maxillary area. And we'll compare a postmortem x-ray with an antemortem x-ray. And if the teeth are like missing or whatever, we'll actually use sinuses to get those identified. You can rotate the head in any number of ways, or you can rotate the jaws in any number of ways to capture a postmortem x-ray so that you can manipulate it. You can better observe, like if there's fillings, look, just because, okay, Dave, let's say that you and I both had a filling, okay, and it's the same tooth. All right, let's say It's our second molar, all right? Bottom right side. We've both got a cavitated area in there. You and I are going to go get a filling for this thing. Well, after they put the filling in, they take our x-rays, okay, post-filling, and you look at it. Did you know that if they put those side by side, even though we've had the same tooth filled, and this might seem rather obvious, but just I want people to understand, put them side by side, our fillings are not going to look the same.
Right.
Okay? Because the cavity doesn't look the same. Just because your tooth cavitates in a particular way doesn't mean that mine will. So even the outline of that can be used as a point of identification. So I think from the perspective of using teeth as an identifier with the dead has a lot of utility. I don't think that we will ever leave that behind. The other side to this is going to be this area that forensic dentistry got off into, which is bite mark assessment. And keep in mind, not every forensic dentist practiced forensic bite mark assessment because they knew scientifically that you can't, and I use this term a lot, you can't quantify it. Understand this. And just think about this the next time you bite into an apple. All right. If you eat your apples with the skin on, this only applies to the skin on people. So you bite an apple and you bite into it, depending upon how you're holding the apple in your hand, depending upon if you're laying on your back, you're sitting up, maybe you're leaned over a table, it's going to adjust how your teeth are going to strike that surface. If you rotate it just the slightest a bit, now take that same image in your mind and apply it to a human being that's wiggling beneath you as you're choking the life out of them, as you're beating them to death. They're resistant to this sadistic pain that's being inflicted upon them. So as they adjust, and we know that skin is very malleable, it moves in all kinds of directions. Some people's skin is loaded with collagen, and it snaps back really quick. The older you are, the more wrinkly you get, the less collagen you get. Skin is not going to be as reactive. You bite into this person and they twist in a particular way. Well, guess what? The static teeth that an individual has in their mouth, suddenly that impression is blown all to hell and back because of the movement of the victim. And also, you don't know what position the perpetrator was in when they bit down on an individual. And all the teeth are not always going to be included in this. So that's one of the reasons that, like, when you go to court with any kind of evidence, it doesn't matter what it is. When you go to court with any kind of evidence, you have to be able to scientifically verify that and validate it and try to understand what form and function, and can you sit on a stand and explain to a jury why this is this way? Because we know this. There have been forensic odontologists out there that simply based upon their testimony, they have literally put people on death row.
So, do you want to start shopping for your next car, but don't know where to begin? Start at CarMax, where you can shop your way from start to finish. Whether you're shopping for something practical, adventurous, or luxurious, CarMax puts you in the driver's seat. And if you want to shop cars that fit your budget, CarMax has your back all the way. Simply grab your phone and get pre-qualified from your couch, the dog park, or even on a coffee break. It's quick, easy, and has zero impact on your credit score. Want to explore your options? CarMax has plenty of options. In fact, with over 45,000 cars to choose from, CarMax has rides for almost every budget, including more than 25,000 cars priced under $25,000. From browsing online to checking out cars on the lot, you can shop your way at CarMax. Want to get started on the search for your next car? Start at CarMax.com for details and get pre-qualified today. Want to drive? CarMax.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Hi, I'm Cindy Crawford, and I'm the founder of Meaningful Beauty. When Dr. Sabah and I decided to do a skincare line together, he said to me, "We are going to give women meaningful beauty." And I said, "That's exactly right. We want to give women meaningful beauty, which means each and every product is meaningful. It has a reason to exist. It's efficacious. You're going to get results. And then you just go out and live your life."
Meaningful Beauty. Confidence is beautiful. Learn more at meaningfulbeauty.com.
You see it instantly. It's Coldwater Creek, the mark of exceptional workmanship and signature touches inspired by a Mountain West heritage. Distinctive styles created from quality fabrics, silhouettes perfected with just the right drape, feel-good fits offering ease of movement, and thoughtful details to elevate your look. For a wardrobe you can count on season after season, visit coldwatercreek.com. Shop the new spring collection at 20% off $75 or more with code IHEART20.
Dave, the grayer my hair gets, the more forgetful I become. You look back over your shoulder in time, or as some people say, in the rearview mirror, and those fine details that you once held on to, it's really hard many times to kind of recapture those. But there are certain events that stand out over the course of your career. The average mundane day-to-day it's whatever. But there are certain things that, to kind of draw you back to the past. And there's one case in particular that I kind of wanted to put out there that, I don't know, I thought that our friends might find interesting. I certainly do still to this day. I got called out to a case on what's referred to as the West Bank in New Orleans, in Jefferson Parish. And it was involving a young girl. And it seems like she was either 7 or 9, 7, 8 or 9. And it was her living in an apartment, and it was a second-story apartment that had, and I know you've probably lived in one, I've lived in one, where the walkway for the entire apartment goes right outside your window. It's got like a cast iron rail right there, and you enter in off the walkway, and you can stand outside and look over the parking lot. Essentially, it's not the most private thing, but this little girl was living with her mama, and it was probably about 9 o'clock at night, and it was in summertime, and she had already put on her nightgown, and she was wearing a nightgown and My Little Pony underwear. I'll never forget that as long as I live. And the air was out. And this is in New Orleans. All right. So you've got the window open adjacent to the walkway. The kitchen window is open so you can get cross ventilation. And Mama's in the back room folding clothes, because Mama has to go downstairs to the laundry room. You have these in all the apartment complexes where you got to drop quarters in, sit there with your laundry. Little girl's watching some television program. Mama enters the room and program's on. Little girl's gone. Door's locked from the inside. And didn't know where she went. There was a big manhunt that ensued. And when she was found by a group of men that had kind of all gathered in on this hunt, she was right on the edge of a little forested area just out back of this apartment that her mama rented. And to say that she was unrecognizable is inaccurate. I never beheld anything like this. And are you familiar, Dave, with Asics tennis shoes? You ever heard that name before? Asics?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Well, that's the first time I'd ever heard of Asics. The reason it's significant is because the person that killed her stomped her to death with a pair of Asics. And the patterns that appeared on her face, her neck, her shoulders, and even on her chest were consistent with a particular style of this make of shoe. Well, as it turns out, he was finally caught, and it was actually the caretaker for this apartment complex. It's one of the few times, Dave, where I have seen a group of cops so furious that they had murder in their eyes. And it was actually kind of a scary place to be in, because people had been searching for this girl, holding out hope that they were going to find her. And this all happened in like just the twinkling of an eye. I mean, the whole process happened really quick. You know, it wasn't like, you know, these cases we hear today, we've got a missing child alert out and they go for days, and it wasn't like that. This whole thing turned around in like, I don't know, it's like 5 hours.
Oh,
and you had
wow.
people really pumped up about this. You know, they're wanting to find this girl, this girl.
You got that. It's in the first hours. You got a chance to get her alive. You know,
you
it's
do.
Like she could have just run off and she's missed. I mean, you're right. Everybody's totally pumped the first few hours.
They are. And I saw senior police officers talking down junior police officers because everybody wanted peace.
Wow.
The guy survived, but I got to tell you, it was the whole thing was just surreal. We say, Morgan, what does this have to do with forensic odontology? Well, I'm glad you asked that question because I'm about to get to it. It was that same night that I happened to meet an individual named Michael West. I'd never seen him in person, never shaken hands with him. However, one of my colleagues back then, actually a guy that was my mentor, said, you got to meet this guy. He's amazing because he's a forensic odontologist and he works with alternative lighting. And when I say alternative lighting, I'm talking about using things like UV, infrared, this sort of thing, in order to take photographs where certain details under those conditions will be enhanced that you could not otherwise see with regular photography or the naked eye. Well, he drove down from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and man, he had all these whiz bangs with him. I mean, he had everything, lights, you know, the whole 9 yards. Talks real fast. He's a big fella. Comes into our morgue, and it's my case, so I volunteered. And I had to call the forensic pathologist. I was like, is this okay if I do this? And his renown had spread by that time. It was way outside the area, you know, New Orleans area in Mississippi. He was appearing and talking places. Yeah, let's go ahead and use it. Well, Dave, I didn't know anything about, you know, alternative lighting when it comes to documenting injuries on bodies. And I remember sitting there and watching him go through this exercise of snapping these various photographs, have me move the body so that he could get these. And it was almost like being at a magic show where the guy that's got the cards and he's saying, look here, you know, like this, look here, watch this. And all the while something else is going on. And he kept telling me almost as if I'm there to validate what he's seeing. Don't you see this bite mark right here? I guess I don't, this is outside my realm of expertise. I don't know if that's a bite mark, because what I had seen was this specific waffle pattern that had abraded this precious young girl's face and shoulders and her abdomen all over the place. And he's, out of all of that, he's finding bite marks as well. And granted, the alternative light pictures that he took were incredible, you know, when you see them. There wasn't no more bite mark on that young girl's body than a man in the moon. And, you know, and that's one of the things that happened with bite mark. It wasn't just West. It was others like him. But, they had so many of these cases, Dave, and there's two in particular that really, really caught my attention. There were these two African-American gentlemen that had both been accused in the same area of raping little girls and biting them and tossing their bodies in a creek. And this is before DNA. They didn't have it. One guy was sent to serve a life term in prison. Other guy was sent to death row. And as it turned out,
it was a crackhead, wasn't it?
Both. No, it wasn't. It was, the bite marks may have been there, but it was one person doing all of it, and they didn't catch that individual.
Oh my gosh.
So these poor men
pinned it on these two guys.
Yeah. And there have been, just so that I get my facts straight here, I'm looking right now at an article from 2020, I guess, from Criminal Legal News. There have been 34 convictions based on bite marks alone that have been overturned. 34. Just let that sink in just for a second. And the idea that you can take, you remember what I was talking about, the dynamics of the teeth and the dynamics of actually biting somebody. You can't, there's no way that I can take and assign a number to that in the examination of some kind of contused area where you can't make out fine detail. The mouth is fascinating the way it works. Most people never consider it. I was talking about earlier how you go through the process of processing food in your body. Just so you understand, you have incisors, right? So you've got the incisors. Why do they call it incisors? Well, incise means to cut. Okay, so that's why we say, even in forensic pathology, incised wound. That's like a slice. So your incisors actually slice food. So then you get to your canines, which are cuspids, and then you have bicuspids. Imagine those cuspids being almost like the tines on a hay fork, like this. So you go up into the hay and you rip like this. The bicuspids then take the teeth, take the food, they'll move it down the line to the premolars and the molars. And what are they made for? Well, they're made for grinding. So you've got cut, tear, grind, cut, tear, grind. And the entire time the tongue is involved in this as well. That's why if we do have what we suspect as a bite mark, we can go to that area and swab the area around the bite mark to collect potential foreign DNA just off saliva, because saliva is very rich in DNA. That certainly has utility, when you begin to think about these bite marks and what happens in that process. And here's another thing that occurs with biting. Biting has an element of sucking too. Well, you don't think about it. It's not something that's like really profound, when people are taking in food, depending upon how they eat. But if you have a sexual attack, it's almost like this gigantic hickey that appears on the body. And the thing about the hickey is the hickey creates a hematoma, and it can disrupt the appearance of the bite mark as well, because you've got a contusion that's coming about as a result of the teeth breaking the skin, and it's kind of leaching in there. You've got the sucking action that's going on behind it. So many times you'll get this kind of gigantic amorphous kind of oval-shaped blob with very little detail. Well, you're going to tell me that scientifically you can look at the outer fringes of that and apply a number to that, because it has to be numerical, that goes back to a suspected person that has done the biting. It beats all I've ever seen. And sometimes it's very disheartening, when you think about the various practices there are in forensic science that are out there. You think about the good that forensic science has done. But when you consider the sheer numbers of people that have gone to jail, they've missed Christmas, they've missed their kids graduating from high school, they've missed dance recitals, they've been threatened with their life being taken away. And all because of faulty forensic science. I think we've made a course correction at this point in time. I think that forensic odontology certainly has grand utility when it comes to still identifying bodies. There's nobody better out there than a dentist at fine motor work. I'd put them up against just about anybody that's a physician because they have to deal with the tiniest of tools. They're great at extracting DNA from the pulp of teeth, which is something we certainly need a lot of right now. They're delicate in their practice. I would hazard and say I probably learned more from forensic odontologists about what to do right in forensic science, but all along learning what is definitely wrong. I'm Joseph Scott Morgan, and this is Body Bags.
You see it instantly. It's Coldwater Creek, the mark of exceptional workmanship and signature touches inspired by a Mountain West heritage. Distinctive styles created from quality fabrics, silhouettes perfected with just the right drape, feel-good fits offering ease of movement, and thoughtful details to elevate your look. For a wardrobe you can count on season after season, visit coldwatercreek.com. Shop the new spring collection at 20% off $75 or more with code IHEART20.
Sometimes all we want is more of the same, like another round of golf played from a channel with 24/7 coverage, another look at the garden, and the deer as they pick their way through it, another Taco Tuesday, followed by a whatever's in the fridge Wednesday. And to get more of the same, all we need is a little help. With adaptable care plans from qualified, compassionate caregivers matched to your family's needs, Home Instead can help you and your passions stay home, no matter what's on your horizon. Visit Home Instead online for a better what's next.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
This is Teddy Mellencamp from Two Teas in a Pod with Teddy Mellencamp and Tamara Judge. There's a new season of 90 Day The Single Life, and it's hotter than ever.
If you've never seen 90 Day before, this is the one that will get you hooked. Their marriages crumbled. Now, 8 singles are taking the lead and stepping back out to the scariest place of all, the dating world.
There will be exciting first dates, steamy hookups, big letdowns, and potential love waiting in the most unexpected places.
Don't miss a new season of 90 Day The Single Life, Monday at 8 on TLC.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.